The CCP uses what they call debt trap diplomacy.
Yes.
They come in making very strategic investments, often ones that countries can't handle. They often use corruption as a tool, as a weapon. I think when you look at the United States, and particularly conversations President Trump and I have had directly, what we look at is providing, for example, clean U.S. LNG to other parts of the world.
Absolutely. Look, when you have the administration basically turning the country's back to an 80-year relationship with Europe, a security alliance that has brought security both to America and to Europe, that had stopped the, some of the most horrific wars and potentially horrific wars all overnight. It's important that U.S. senators, both Democrats and Republicans, that still believe in our alliance, that still believe in the rule of law, that still believe that NATO is a functioning alliance, that is a force of good, that we need to be out there talking about it and reminding people that what Trump is doing is not, it does not reflect the values of Americans, and it does not reflect what we truly believe.
That one's obvious to many of us, but it has to be repeated often, that Putin is the dictator and Zelenskyy was democratically elected. Secondly, Putin and Russia invaded Ukraine. And so they're trying to play these games with, that Ukraine caused the war by taking certain actions, saying they want to be in NATO and things like that. And that's what forced Russia to go kill and murder and rape and take tens of thousands of children as abductees into Russia.
If you get outside of that room and you go around America, people are hurting, they're afraid, they are feeling the real cuts of what's happening, the real human impact what's happening, and they're pissed, and they should be pissed. And they're starting to stand up and to be heard. And my Republican colleagues can certainly ignore them, but they are not going away.
So those people who we rely on to keep us safe and to keep us fed are being fired by the hundreds tonight inside NOAA. It is insane. It is wrong. It is anti-science. It is going to hurt Americans. It must be stopped. We will fight this incredibly dumb action on the part of the Trump administration.
This is another outrageous and illegal action taken by Elon Musk. And it's part of that corrupt bargain where Elon Musk contributed $280 million to elect Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is now allowing Elon Musk to rampage through the federal government. And they're targeting NOAA because NOAA does very important work to help address climate change.
A week ago, Debbie received an email telling her she no longer had a job. She wasn't fired because veterans were suddenly cured or because her work was no longer needed. Donald Trump and his unelected tech billionaire, Elon Musk, fired Debbie and slashed services at VA facilities nationwide, making it harder for millions of veterans to get the services they need.
Through the Artemis initiative, we'll land the first woman, first person of color, and the first international partner astronaut on the surfaces of the moon. And I am so proud that Christina Cook, who attended high school in my district, North Carolina's 4th, will be a part of this historic Artemis II crew, marking the first return of humans to the lunar vicinity in over half a century. Artemis will advance our scientific understanding, test capabilities needed for sustained lunar activities, assess resources on the moon, and help us prepare for an eventual groundbreaking human mission to Mars.
This is where I got my start working in government over 20 years ago, my very first time stepping into these doors. And I wanted to stand alongside our USAID workers, our public servants, to show my respect and to be able to show that we're going to continue to fight for our foreign policy, continue to fight for our democracy.
So what we got was to bump that up by 7 to at least, at the minimum, the floor has to be a $2 trillion cut over the next 10 years. That's at least $200 billion out of the $7 trillion. Now, that is not as much as I would like, but I feel like that's as far as we could stretch the moderates in our conference to go at this time.
Our federal debt 7-8 years ago was around 19 or 20 trillion dollars. We're around 37 trillion dollars now. So I think for the most part, the majority of our constituents, they want to see savings in federal spending, and they look at us to make sure that we're doing our our due diligence, and we do it appropriately.
But the biggest issue is we should have the fight on budget, but not have shutdowns in the middle of the fight, because that wastes taxpayer dollars on it. So years ago, I put out a bill. I'm going to keep fighting for this, that literally locks us all in Congress into DC. We're in session 7 days a week. Every single day we have to work on the budget until we get it resolved. But it keeps the government open at last year's level.
And I can't believe we've gotten through this many speakers without the obvious comment that Black history is American history and American history is Black history.
I want it to be a celebration of democracy, and we all have a part to play in that. And yes, these are times of trouble, but what do we say about trouble? It don't last always, right? Here's what it is. We celebrate 250 years of American democracy in 2026. I want it to be a celebration. I won't let it be a wake. I won't let it be a requiem. I won't let it be a coronation.
And I can't believe
Eva and her Porter's legacy of service and uplifting diversity and equity have inspired countless community members to get involved in civic engagement, including their daughter, Dr. Chantel Porter, who was just elected as the first Black female judge in DuPage County in 2022. While we think of being first and only, we know we still have a long way to go to truly have parity and representation across this country.